Hi guys, it's the RSS podcast here for episode 19. I'm Matt, he's David. Let's go.
We're back. How you doing, Matt? I am freezing. You're over there in a t-shirt. Holy smokes.
Hey, look at this sun once again. I'm in the sun, bro.
Oh man. Yeah, it was actually flurrying outside earlier. I've drank so many cups of warm beverages. I'm freezing. I almost put on my bathrobe. I was like, I can't don that for the pod. That's ridiculous.
Mate, I can tell you've got you've had a couple warm beverages. It's you came in with a bunch of energy there. Just came flying in. Have you seen Godzilla? You know that noise that that Godzilla makes? When it goes like that noise, it sounded exactly like that. It sounded really close to that, but it's okay. We move.
Welcome to episode 19, everyone. We got a big episode, research-heavy episode. We're really looking forward to it. We're going to be talking about concussion management in sport. What is a concussion? What's happening in the research right now? Pros, cons. Where do we move forward? We're really looking forward to that. We've done some reading. We're just excited to share what's happening. So stick around for that. But first of all, I was sending emails yesterday at work, and so I put out this tweet, which got bare replies. Your boys popping off on Twitter. This is the tweet. At which point in January is it socially acceptable to stop beginning emails hoping they had a good Christmas and New Year's break? #help. Help me. At what point in January are you okay to stop asking people if they've had a good Christmas and New Year's break, you know? Hi, so-and-so.
The second.
Hope your Christmas well. January 2nd. I got some funny replies.
Just end it. Let's get moving.
Yeah. Well, one person did say that. I need to find it. I'm on the wrong one here. Mid-Jan, everything is in motion. We're already stressed and have forgotten about it. That's not bad. This is funny. One person said the trick is never to do it, so no one ever expects it of you unless they asked you first.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
To an email. That's pretty smart. So
that's smart.
This person said sometime in March. That's ridiculous. This is my favorite one. We had like January 31st, February 1st. This is my personal fave. If you have not seen or heard from them since the holidays, there is no expiration date. But if you want one, I will say till the next major holiday. 4th of July!
What? Bro, how are you not seeing someone or being in contact with someone since then?
Also, that's not the first major holiday after New Year's, the 4th of July. First of Canada Day comes first, 1st of July. Easter comes first. You got Chinese New Year.
Oh yeah, Easter. Yeah.
Imagine emailing someone in June.
Major things.
Matt's birthday. Imagine emailing someone in June.
How was Christmas?
The 6th, literally halfway away from Christmas, being like,
"Jeez, wait,
hi George. Hope you had a good New Year's and Christmas break." What would you do if somebody emailed you that
hectic,
in June and started the email with
well, I wouldn't be speaking to that person, would I? Well, I wouldn't be speaking to them. We wouldn't be friends, would we?
Delete.
Like I wouldn't.
Straight to the spam.
100%. I'd be like, well, this person's completely lost it.
Let's clearly get a scam. Yeah. That's hilarious. So people, what if you're watching us on YouTube or Instagram or wherever? What would you say is acceptable? You know, when can you stop saying or asking in an email, starting an email with how was your Christmas break? How was your New Year's break? let us know if you're watching this
There
on
you go.
YouTube. Pop it in the comments right now, or DM us. Toss it in our social medias. Email us. Lots of ways. Speaking of YouTube, reminder that we have a YouTube channel that's popping off. Exciting news this week. We added someone to the Real Sports Science team, didn't we? Who was that, Matt?
Yeah. It was David's brother. It was David's brother. He's joined us on. I want to say his name right, but I feel like I might mess it up, so I'm very reluctant to say it. But Matthias.
You're
No,
getting there.
Matthias. Damn it! See, it's so close. His name's Matthias. Matthias Barber. He's part of David's family, but he's got my name, so we thought he'd be a great fit to join us. He's just half of us made into the producer. Mr.
So
Producer.
he's helping us with some producing. He's helping us with kind of putting our YouTube videos up. So he's putting a lot of work in there. So go on to YouTube, because those videos are only going to get better now that we've got him on board. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Get involved with what's going on. And speaking of getting involved, weekly quiz. That's something that Matt started that you guys are loving. Matt, talk to us about
get
the
involved
quiz.
with get involved with the weekly quiz. I mean, we got 10 questions every week on the Monday. It helps get your brain firing. Or if you want to do it a bit later, settle down. It's like Duolingo almost, but even more fun and rewarding. So yeah, just get involved in that. So the winner we've got so far for the first one we've done is Alexandros. Alex, back from Power Base Gym. So well done. He's won the first quiz. So he'll be the first winner of that weekly quiz. And every month we're looking to give rewards for first place, maybe second place, depending on how I'm feeling. But yeah, no, really get involved and let's see what the prizes are at the end of the month. That'll be interesting. So yeah, first winner, Alexandros. Well done.
Yeah, so get involved, because every
go.
week we're going to be seeing who's won and putting your name in a prize. Hopefully, every few weeks to give out a real sports science prize. And I think the questions are changing up a little bit too, right, Matt?
Yep. We're going to start including some podcast questions. So some maybe you'll have to, like, how many golf balls are there on the moon? 2. Easy. But then the next question will be like, what color was David's jumper in that episode? Stuff like that. That was off the dome as well, David. Like what, and then, what color was David wearing that day? So there'll be questions like that. So that will get you guys watching and get you guys more involved and maybe a bit more fun as well. So yeah.
Absolutely.
There you
So
go.
get involved there.
Get interested.
Exciting things happening over the next few weeks, few months on the Real Sports Science podcast. So we want to have you come along. But without further ado, should we get into our topic of today?
Yes, let's get involved. Let's get into it.
Concussion management in sport. I think you brought this topic up a couple of weeks ago. And I think we were just going to kind of breeze by it talking about technology, but we thought, hang on a second. Hold your horses, toss on the brakes. We're going to make an episode of this. So do you want to take it away?
Yeah,
start us in.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just give a little introduction on why we're talking about it. I mean, it's easy to say that concussion management is just, concussions have been so prevalent in contact sports that it's been the topic of books, movies, research, topic of many conversations actually with, the recording team at the studios of those sports. And recently, with all the research that has been more prevalent and that's come out, there's been higher amounts of people that have just started looking into what can we do to manage that without ultimately destroying the sport as a business as well. Because obviously the easy question, how do we stop people from getting their heads absolutely blown off in American football? Let's stop tackling. But then their sport's gone. You can't play tag American football. You're not going to watch Tom Brady want to ping one, and then is someone going to tackle the guy by just grabbing his tag as soon as he catches it? It's not going to be the same.
Got you before you threw that. He's like, no, only one hand doesn't count.
Yeah, and you're just like this, and the commentator's like, "Oh, and it's going to be a hit, big hit, big hit, big hit." Oh, and he's taking his tag right off of his belt. It doesn't make
Yeah.
it interesting. Ooh, that was a quick snap off his belt. It doesn't make it interesting. So, so we're just going to dive in. We're going to go and talk about a bit of what is a concussion, what are the signs and symptoms, then what is the current issue. So we're going to just dive into what why is there an issue, what is there. That made no sense, but we move. And then after, we're going to look at what management protocols have been included into these sports to help manage the concussion prevalence, and then also what our opinions are on it, and finally a little bit of a summary, and then what future research or what people can do in the future about it. So yeah, what is a concussion, David?
Yeah, I thought I would just kind of start with what is an actual concussion for people who might not have kind of an idea of what it is, but actually what's going on. So blow to the head or neck, or more specifically, because it doesn't actually have to be a blow to, like, there doesn't have to actually be any contact, but a rapid change in direction. So when we're talking about sports related concussions, usually it's a blow to the head, or sometimes even the body, and you get that whiplash effect. So it's really a rapid change in direction of your head, and that causes brain inside the skull to actually accelerate and hit either, usually the front of the skull, the back of the skull, or the sides if you get hit from the side. Or it's a rotation. So again, change in direction, but in a rotational manner, which actually causes your brain to rotate quickly inside your skull. So that's kind of like the mechanism of injury, what's actually happening. But deep down, what's acutely happening is an energy imbalance. Uh, So there's less energy available for the normal functioning of the brain because of two reasons. One, possible decreased blood flow due to trauma or swelling, or some occlusion from caused by the actual damage of hitting. And two, an increased need for energy for the brain to repair itself. So because now it's working so hard to repair itself, there's less energy for actual normal functioning of the brain. So and we'll get into this a little bit more, but then the issue over time and over multiple traumas, what can happen is you can get
Dramas.
actual damage damage to neurons. I think I've had some trauma. Um,
To
you can
neurons.
you can get you can get damage to neurons, and this can be from mechanical trauma, so being the hitting of the brain against the skull, so actual mechanical damage of neurons, or death to neurons because of loss of blood flow. Again, because of that damage, or decreased blood flow because of swelling or other complications that have been caused by that. So I'd say just before we move on, is like many injuries, previous injury is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, risk factor for that same injury. So, usually, like in hamstring injuries or ACL injuries, like the leading risk of a hamstring injury is a previous hamstring injury, which kind of sounds silly, but it's a really important thing to think about, because in concussions it's the same. And so proper assessment, proper treatment, and a proper return to play program and protocol for the first concussion is super vital to make sure that you decrease the risk of a second and third and further concussions. uh, Obviously, because you don't want second and third concussions, but more importantly, uh, multiple concussions is the problem where we see an increased risk for long-term serious health impacts, and also the severity of those health impacts increasing when you get your second, your third, your fourth concussion. So really diagnosing that first concussion properly, treating it properly, and making sure that somebody comes back to sport completely healed, or as healed as you can imagine from a concussion, is really, really vital. And obviously that's the problem, right? Because concussions, you can't look into the brain and be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's broken, like a broken bone or something, right? It's very difficult to see. And a lot of the impacts from concussions, we can only see post-mortem, especially with CTE. chronic traumatic encephalopathy. You can only see that and diagnose that post-mortem. So that's a big issue right now with concussions as well. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
and
just a little bit. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, I was just going to say, like, that's a great way to just put it into sort of bubble, isn't it? Like, that's what a concussion is. That's what it can lead to. That's sort of the dangers and severity that come with it. And then the current issue surrounding concussions is just that, as I said at the start, it is extremely prevalent. And I mean, you get people who are there on the sideline to help make those decisions, to have a little check. So you've got little sort of tests that you can do in real time to check if that person has had a concussion. But it's like on a spectrum, isn't it, David? It's so difficult because you get someone who's got a slight knock to the head, seems all okay, and can continue playing, but in reality, that little hit has actually affected him quite a lot, and you can't really see at that time how big of an impact it has had. But sideline decisions, when even I've seen it in many rugby games where a player's clearly had a concussion, but because it's sort of then damn it, it sort of dips its feet into sort of yeah, it's dreadful. It sort of dips its feet into, tactical or technical situation where this player has to stay on the field. He's such a vital player and in a vital position that if we take him off right now, we could end up losing the game. So say 72 minutes on the rugby clock, right? You've got 8 minutes left. The number nine's gone down. The replacement number nine, he's gone down, but he looks okay. But he's having a great game, and there's 8 minutes left, and we're on an attack. Some people have looked at that player and gone, yeah, he's fine, let's just get him on, because they've got a little radio from the coaches. I'm saying this as a scenario, but there's been many times where people have got that wrong. People have got that call wrong, and the players continued playing, and then later it could have affected them even worse. So yeah, it is just, and I mean, we're talking about this is at top of the game, so you can't imagine what it looks like at lower levels of the game, right? Where like kids playing football, a kid who loves to head the ball may not think it's anything, but as he's doing it the 50,000th time, it's actually having a massive impact because there's no one there. You're not going to have a top level physio, just at under 15s boys football game for school, just watching just to make sure. So yeah, it's such a big issue with so many different detrimental factors.
Yeah, it's so multifactorial as well, and there's so many different facets of concussion that you need to consider, right? Like right there, you're talking about pitch side, immediate, assessment. Should this player continue playing immediately or not, right? And no matter if they say yes or no, maybe they say yes, maybe they say no afterwards, then it's the assessment of, okay, do you have a concussion? Now they do tests, and then tracking eyes or movement or gait or balance or whatever, and to
Yeah.
decide, is there a concussion there and how severe is it? So then you got to make that better and really good, and how do you do that in high level, but more importantly, I would say in low level, where you don't have the financial backing and ability for all of these professionals to look at your child. And then after that, okay, well, now we need, how do you recover from a concussion? And there, like, we could talk about each of those for hours. I think just talking about what's going on, what's getting better, where do they need to
Yeah.
improve. But I think overall, there's kind of, I'd say, maybe two or three themes that kind of go over each of those. One being the issue of, are these tests, whatever the test is, reliable and valid? And maybe just for people who are confused about the difference of those two things, because I was for well, probably all the time still. Reliability, if you're talking about reliability, it's the ability for a test to measure something the same in two different times. So I come in
Like
once
consecutively.
and
Yeah.
consecutively. So I come in on two separate days, do the same test, and I get the same score, which is right. So it's a reliable test. It measures the same thing. It measures the same thing the same twice or more. So it's repeatable. Validity, on the other side, reliability is pretty kind of straightforward. Validity is a little bit difficult, a bit of a slippery fish, as my supervisor likes to say, because that is what you're measuring, or the measure that you get, actually measuring what you want to measure, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's a little bit more difficult, because how do you know if what you're measuring is actually measuring what you want to measure? If it's actually telling you something. So the classic example is, if you imagine a dartboard. Reliability would be if I take 3 shots, all those three, what are they called? Arrows?
Darts.
Darts. Wow, David, I'm an idiot.
Arrows. Arrows. Nice. Nice.
I can't
So if there's a
believe I just,
dartboard
that's
there and I get my
embarrassing.
arrow and I let it go.
Arrows? Oh my goodness, that was
Imagine,
ridiculous.
I'd love to see
So if
you
you
turn
shoot
up with
3
a whole
darts at
quiver.
a dartboard. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Right, so if you, a dartboard, you shoot 3 darts, reliability would be that all 3 darts are really closely clustered together. So you're reliable. You shoot it in the same spot. Bap, bap, bap. Validity, although, is that you get it where you want it to go. So if you're aiming for the bullseye, that all 3 are in the bullseye. Bap, bap, bap. So that would mean it's valid because it's going where you want it to go, and it's reliable because all 3 are there. But what could happen is you could be really reliable, but they're off like on the wall. Like they're really clustered, great, super reliable, but it's not where you wanted it to be. So that's kind of the difference between reliability and validity. That was a massive tangent where I just embarrassed myself.
So I'm reliably terrible at school grades and all that. Okay, that sounds good. I think I get what you're trying to say. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got there in the end.
Context. But so that's the first. I have to remember what we were actually talking about. So that's the first problem, right? Are these tests actually valid? Are they actually reliable? Are they measuring what we want them to measure? And are they repeatable? The second issue is what you're talking about, of the difference between low level and high level. Like we could do all this research and come up with great technology, but it's so expensive, and your 12-year-old son or daughter who's playing football, either one, or ice hockey, who might get a concussion, they don't have those kind of resources and all the resources that need to make those tests useful. So that's an issue, and I would say that's probably. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, bringing in something you said at the beginning about how a recurring concussion makes it more severe as it goes on. So you're taking these kids who could possibly get like some concussions, 3 or 4, let's say, whilst they're growing up, and then they become professional. By that time, when we've got all these tests and everything, they've already had their 10th concussion that hasn't been diagnosed. So on a label, they're saying, oh, this is their first concussion. But in reality, no one knows the true number of concussions they've had since they've started playing that sport, which makes this so difficult. But yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
What are we going to do?
Nail, hammer. Poof.
Yeah.
Poof. That's exactly what I was going to say. Exactly. That's the issue.
Oh, nice.
That's the issue, isn't it? I think that is the biggest problem. Exactly. Because they get to a place where now they have all the technology, great, but they've already got peas for brains. Mashed potatoes in their skull. And that's scary. And the good thing is, I mean, I guess the saving grace is when you're young, your brain itself is quite pliable, so there's more of a chance that you can recover, and that neurons can actually regrow and make connections again if there's the damage. But still, like, if you're 25 and now are on a premier team, but from the ages of
Yeah.
10 to 17, you sustain 3 concussive blows. That's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, 100%,
It's quite
100% it is an
scary,
issue,
isn't
eh?
it? Because there's like,
Yeah.
what do you do? You know? Um, so like there's and just kind of as a background of what there is, like it's not, I think we have, not we, but organizations, especially in the lower levels, have gotten way better, and the education has gotten way better. Um, there's things now that, like the SCAT 5, I think, is still pretty much the
Yeah.
go-to for kind of low level concussion assessment. So that stands for the Standardized Concussion Assessment Test 5. So the fifth one. And obviously, all of those kind of tests are problematic because they're self-administered. So there's bias. There's no baseline, which is important. It's easily cheated on, because it's objective. And also, if you give that to a 10-year-old and ask them, how they're feeling, they'll be like, "Oh, so excited because I played my first rugby game." Meanwhile, they're like
Well, actually,
throwing up and have a headache.
yeah. Yeah,
you
so
know?
I really enjoy. No, I promise you, like my favorite when Timmy passed me, and he passed me the, he's just trying to get the words out and he can't.
Yeah.
He's not even facing the camera, David. He's just like this. Yeah, so my game today was actually really good. And sorry. Oh, you're over there. You're over there.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I swear. I
Exactly.
swear, I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolute space cadet, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's on the moon
Get
checking
back
if your
on the
stats
field,
are right
Timmy.
about how many golf balls there are. Meanwhile, he's saying
Yeah.
that he's fine.
He's sat there just staring at the moon. He's like, I see the two. There's 2 golf balls on the moon.
No, I see them. I see them. Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
that's
fine.
the difficulty. And then there's other ones that are better, that are more objective. So they're like computerized, and you get a baseline. Even I did that when I played ice hockey. I had to go and do like a baseline concussion test, so that if you think you have a concussion, you
Yeah.
go back, do the same test, and then see your different scores. So base level, that's pretty good, except it's so easy to cheat. I could just go and do the test the first time with my eyes closed, and
That's
with
what I've
0
heard
hours
is
of
a lot of
sleep, and
people
just
have done
cheat
that in
and do
rugby.
really, really bad. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
No,
absolutely. That's what you do. You
a lot
just
of
do
people would
really
just get
bad,
the answers
and then
wrong just on
actually the
purpose.
second time you
Yeah.
do it, the second time you do it, you look like an absolute genius because you did better than the first
Yeah.
time. So
Actually,
another
that's the
issue.
difficult part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's when common sense will have to take place, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, we've mentioned a lot of the current approaches here. I mean, one of the big ones that I heard about when first talking about concussion management was actually the Harlequins using mouth guards in order to like mouthguard technology in order to improve player welfare, in order to be able to track these concussions. So I think it was the 2021 season or 2020 season, I'm not sure, but they used Protect technology, which was supplied by Sports and Wellbeing Analysis. And it played a significant part in the Premiership for both Gloucester and Harlequins because they were the first team. I think Harlequins were the first team to use it, and basically the data is sent back to the sidelines through sensors placed in the player's mouth guard, and provides a number of benefits in terms of both welfare and performance. So we're talking, not only does it help, I think it measures like the cortisol of the saliva. I'm not sure. I couldn't find it actually on the website or anything like that, but I think it uses that so it can send back the data to like in real time during a game, but also in training. So therefore, people have started to reduce the amount of contact in training, right? And it also means they can use it to a tactical advantage as well, all this data. So it's not only a great way to measure concussion prevalence now, it's also a great way to help plan training sessions and improve performance. So it basically, like one of the Gloucester coaches said, that the mouthguard can monitor the velocity of your head movement, which is a really good indicator on whether you've potentially had a concussion or subconcussive hit. and basically these tiny electronic chips measure impacts and sends data in real time to a receiving station that can be plugged into the team doctor's laptop. The chip literally is only like a millimeter of thickness to the side of the mouth guard that players have reported having no problems and no discomfort with it. And I mean, it's just, I feel like it could be when with more teams adopting this sort of new technology, it can even go into different sports, hockey or American football, where players wear mouth guards, or even like boxing, MMA. So when they're ringside, in my opinion, ringside, you've got the corner or a team doctor who's got um, no stake in either teams, is not biased. He's just an unbiased doctor sat there with an iPad seeing, okay, this guy's actually received a lot of knocks to the head. Obviously, it's MMA, so there's going to be a bit of leeway about this, but he can actually see when like a massive hit has just absolutely blasted the guy, and he stood there like this, right, and then just stop it early instead of the referee sprinting from the side to try and stop this guy from getting a next blow to the head. So I think it can a bit of fun on there, but
how far away is that ref standing?
I will send you some videos, right? There's been times where the ref's like, okay, this is a good fight, and he's quite far back. Next, there's a massive kick to the head. That guy's sent all the way to Jupiter, and the ref's just like that, oh, Jesus. And the guy's just gone down, and the next guy's just following with a hammer fist to his head. It's a bit,
honestly,
gets a bit techie. But
also, if I was a ref in the MMA, I would just be like this, like against the cage. I'd be getting as far away from that as possible. I'm like,
ooh, yeah.
because
that was a good hit. That was a good hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, so
that's really interesting, because we're talking about kind of pitch side assessment, and a big issue right now is, do you play and do you go? Do you play or do you not stay that? And and I was reading a paper. It is absolute joke, because right now, I have to find it. Here it is. Here it is.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's obviously a great tool for the medical team to use, but it just, once again, it's not solving the massive problem. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I'll come to my opinion right at the end.
It's much better, though. It's much better, though, because right now it's in lower levels, and it's too bad. It's, again, we come back to this issue of lower levels, and it's, these things are such high costs, and it's, unfortunately, at the end of the day, all about the money. So we almost need some rich philanthropists to be like, yeah, I'm going to support making millions and billions of these chips to give to lower level teams, and then educate the coaches of how to use the technology. Because right now,
yeah,
obviously lower level teams don't have access. So how do you deal with that? And so this is legit. This is what they should adopt. They should adopt a recognize and remove, or when in doubt, sit them out. Lol.
Nice.
Science.
I can't imagine a massive coach, the owner of, like, say, the Cowboys in the NFL, and he's on the radio. He's like, hey, if in doubt, sit him out, lads. Sit him out. Sit him out. Just on the phone with the coach.
Yeah.
He's
Well, it's more like lower. Some massive, just absolute brick house rhyming. Yeah. But and so this what you're talking about is really cool, because it takes away that subjectiveness of it and makes it very objective. And I guess maybe I wonder if research could find, what's the upper limit, excuse me, of inertia. And I think they do know that. How much inertia is needed, or momentum is needed for you to actually get concussed. It's pretty low for what actually the hits that happen. And at what point do you say, okay, we've seen the data spike over this level for this length of time, or these many hits, we're going to pull them out. But then again, it's like, it's a business, isn't it? And in a way, it goes back to like what the culture is at that sport and in that environment. At kids, I would say, like, that culture does need to shift of more like health first, performance second, because they're kids, right? But also, no kid wants to come off, because maybe in 30 years he's going to have anger issues, right? Like, no kid's going to be like, what? No, like, I'm playing.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
time, right?
But we're talking
then at higher
kids.
levels,
say you're on the doorstep of a massive. Yeah, carry on.
Go
Sorry,
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead. Okay. and then in higher levels, obviously, then it's a business, right? And what you were saying, like the culture of like we're gonna, if we lose that player, well, we're gonna lose probably, and that player being like, well, no, I'm not gonna come out because of this, and maybe the repercussions that are gonna happen if I have to sit out for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah, and like even saying at that level, right? Say we've got a level where, um, I'm on the doorstep of NFL. The Arizona Cardinals are just about to sign me for a multi-million deal. Excuse me, I'm going to be a little bit foggy in older age when I'm 50. All right.
Yeah,
People have that mentality where they just
yeah,
want to get that money. Think about it. You've come from, say, you've not come from a great
yeah.
background. You've always been starved of having nice things like new cleats. There you go, American football,
Mm,
new cleats. I'll stick to that. You're gonna want that million dollar deal. You're not gonna want to just say no. Actually, I don't want to do that because I can have a risk of concussion and have a risk of having high levels of CTE in the future. No, you're gonna want that.
mhm.
So that's the thing. It's I think it's just trying to find that balance where technology can help monitor and allow the players to have best return to play protocols following the severity of their concussion, but also understanding that it is a business you can't take away. I mean, I watch rugby because obviously I love the sport, but a main element of that is the big hits. You love seeing someone get
Mm.
absolutely crunched. You love seeing a
Mm.
massive hit take place, and at the end of the day, you know what you're getting into. If you don't want to take that risk, then just don't do it. You know, with
Yeah,
risk there's
exactly.
reward,
Like
and
as an athlete, you want to be in that position. Like you play that sport because you love it, right? I played ice hockey. I was
yeah,
okay. I was okay with the risk of maybe getting a concussion.
mm. and
I
that's
think
that's
maybe
where
what
you need
needs
to
to
just
change at that
understand it.
high, yeah. I think maybe what needs to change at that high level is the education of players of the risks, because
Yeah,
I feel like maybe they
yeah,
don't, maybe some people don't really understand the risks that are really truly associated with getting concussed. And I think, if I think associations need to be held accountable, and teams need to be held accountable for telling the players up front what the risks are,
yeah,
and not sugarcoat it, And I think they do need to be held responsible, teams especially, when there's clear signs of concussion, and not the proper avenues are taken to make sure that somebody gets the treatment they need and aren't playing before they're really okay to do that. I think there needs to be more responsibility for that, and more I can't think of the word, accountability, more
no,
accountability.
yeah, I know what you're saying, and after going through all that research, going through the whole process of understanding the current issue, I mean, it's just going to be difficult. Obviously, I'm saying there's risks, but also the interdisciplinary team, the coaches, the managers, they also have responsibility to, as you were saying, to bring that technology up there to allow the proper, at the end of the day, to allow proper player welfare. So I think it is a
Yeah.
balancing act, and it is extremely difficult, but that is concussion management. That is concussion management, and I think what's great is that we're actually seeing new pieces of technology trying to dampen that prevalence of concussions. So it is exciting to see these new teams adopting different methods, and hopefully we'll see data in the next coming years that they have managed to and succeeded to lower the incidence rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hopefully, we're talking about baseline, and I think another area of kind of research and development could be creating large data sets. So not just one baseline test that you did, but
Yeah,
months of data of kind of your normal
yeah,
physiological state, whether that's heart rate, balance, eye tracking, all these different things. And again, we're talking about high level situations here, but more data, and not only that, but data across different platforms and across kind of different disciplines and even teams. And I think a big big
Yeah.
issue right now, especially in research. Teams want to hold that close to them, which makes sense because they don't want to give an
Yeah.
advantage to some. Like if they found an advantage, they want to keep it. But I think what would be great to see, especially in this space, in the concussion space, is to find a way how to safely and ethically as well share data and share information, so that, like
Yeah.
you said, player welfare is number one. Um,
No, 100%. Like it does. Yeah, it is difficult because I play devil's advocate as a business, um, and if I'm a physio, doing these tests all the time to try and create a more accurate understanding of a player's mental capacity or their concussion baseline tests. It takes time. It takes a lot. I guess those tests aren't that costly, but other tests would be different ones, and it takes a lot of time. Sorry, going back on time, that's the main one. A lot of time that many people don't have. So I think it would have to be players that take the initiative themselves. If they do truly care about player welfare, then put in that time, that extra time that you've got in that day to find out more, um,
hmm,
to do those more tests, so
yeah.
then you have a better profile.
Yeah.
There you go.
So just to unreal conversation, just to kind of wrap it up. What I guess moving forward, if you're a sports scientist, like you are working in an S&C environment, or for myself, kind of working with athletes as well, or doing more research, or even if you're listening and you're not involved in sports directly, but you know people who play sports and maybe have a concussion, like what
Hmm.
how can we in our kind of daily goings help that culture of concussions and of changing that from like, oh no, I'm fine, to educating and and taking it serious. And that I think that's what I would say is like is take concussion serious. Like if even if you have a friend who says, oh, I really got a blow to the head, kind of feeling dizzy, or that lights or the phone really hurt my eyes and give me a headache, or I kind of feel sick. I think a big thing that we can do
Hmm.
is take that serious and don't just be like, ah ha ha ha, like, stop being soft, like 10 ply, but you know,
Yeah.
um, I think I think you know practically that's something that we can all do no matter where you are. And the second thing I would say, and maybe after, if you'd agree or have something else, Matt, you can say, but I think one, education is really important. So if you're in a position of being able to educate people who might get a concussion, and the second is what I come back to all the time, which is relationship building, and building that buy-in before something happens from either coaches or players or managers, building that relationship, building that buy-in, so that when something does happen, they're bought in because they trust you. And also, I think if
Yeah.
you're
No,
if you're with
100%.
athletes all the time, maybe that even gives you the ability to kind of get to know who they are as individuals normally, and even build. This is a very low level, but even build kind of a baseline knowledge of who are they on a normal day to day, and
Yeah.
maybe you detect that, hey, like, you're usually
You
a
seem a bit
quiet
off
person,
today.
and yeah, and in the last couple of days you've been really aggressive. Like, what's going on there? What do you think? Kind of just practical of like next steps. What can you do practically?
I think just everyone's got to play their role. As a player, you've got to be conscious of yourself, and if you truly care about that, truly care about player welfare, you take the initiative as well. But then also, even more so, the people around them, the interdisciplinary team, they've got to take initiative. They've got to be proactive in building those relationships, understanding the players better, and also recognizing tests that they can do that will help the players more. And as a manager or coach, who's actually got a big stake in there, you've got to realize that
Hmm.
keeping your players fit and healthy for longer means that they'll be around for longer, means they can probably become bigger stars, which will then be more buy-in from the fans, which will then actually increase your profits, hopefully. So I think there's a benefit for everyone, in their own little, what they want to get out of it. There is a benefit there if you just prioritize the players. So yeah, very interesting. And yeah, I agree with what you were saying earlier. And just on a great way to top it all off, I think, we will be doing a nice little review of the research that's out there, and you may see it on one of our blog posts on the RSS website by the time this comes out.
Yes.
There you go.
So new
So
website. We didn't even mention that. www.rsspodcast.co.uk. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, .co.uk.
.co.uk. Yeah. Hopefully it will be. You can listen to the podcast there. Hopefully we'll be putting some YouTube stuff up there as well. And then exactly blog posts. So if that's from guests, maybe we can get guests putting up blogs, us writing blogs about what we've talked about or some other issue. Get over there, get it on your bookmarked.
There you go. Sorry,
but yeah, great conversation, Matt. I think we should try to find someone who's doing research or is involved in this kind of area to see if we can get them in for an interview. I think that would be great. I think listeners would really.
That would be amazing.
I would really enjoy that. But
that'd be great.
Till next week. Thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below. If you haven't subscribe already. Follow us on Instagram. Get involved. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all of the streams. We're really excited to see what happens this year. We just want to keep bringing you news, keep bringing you information that you can trust, research-backed, fun, and a good time. Matt, why don't you take us out? Episode 19.
Episode 19, as David said. This has been the RSS podcast. We're out.